Thank you. Today's meeting of the Development Committee, Patriots Point Development Authority, will come to order. First item on the agenda is the agenda. Are there any items to be added or to the agenda? If not, we will, if there are no objections, we'll accept it as presented. You've received the previous minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes? Hearing none. If there's no objection, we'll approve those as presented. Chris, marketing and sales.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Before I start, I want to point out a few new hires. I think for the last year and a half, you've heard me come in here and say we need people, and I'm proud to say that we've grown into quite the team. We've got some capable talent in with us, and right here, to the right, is Matthew George. He's our new marketing manager. Gina Zarin, okay, gotcha, is right there. She is group sales. She helps group sales bookings, school group bookings that aren't part of the EIA program, Friends of the Fleet, and overnight camping. So Richard Gregg, who's been here for 30 years, I have him here, but he's out this week, dealing with family matters. And of course, John Willman, our very talented videographer that's back there, that does so much of what we've seen for so long, whether it's in symposiums or promotional videos. And then Tom Ford over here with our volunteers, that I think everybody's well aware of what Tom does for us. The pictures that you'll see, normally in my presentation I put various pictures just to make it fun and show you guys what we're doing, but all of these are from photo shoots that we did for Operation Overnight. So if it looks like it has nothing to do with the slide, it's just I want to show some of the work we've done and some of the photos. You would think that we paid a model to do this, but what we did for these photo shoots is we asked the focus groups that came in, we had them all sign permission slips for us to use their photos for marketing purposes. And that's how we got around not hiring models. It's very expensive to do that, and we figured let kids in their element be our models, and if it didn't work, we'd go back the other way, no harm, no foul. So this was one of the kids that took the program super seriously. It was a joy to be around, from what I hear. And he's taking a selfie as he walks down the pier. December in review. Through this presentation, I'll give you a lot about December and then a 6-month scope of where we're at. We're doing really, really, really well with attendance and with sales, better than I think most expected. We didn't really know what to expect, especially when Omicron popped up as we worked through that. But in December, we beat our 5-year average by nearly 4,000 people, which is great. You know that we've started doing 5-year average comparisons rather than 1 or 2 because of all of the changes. And in my 5 years, I completely rule out the time during COVID to where numbers were skewed, where like the first month we opened, or numbers that would pull down the averages so much it's not worth comparing to. So in December we had 17,293 people. Group sales, we did the goals, and you'll see that for the year in the next slide. But we didn't know what to expect. The pandemic kept going on. We realized that it was going to be harder and harder to meet our group sales goals. But we're doing better, and we're finding out that in January, we might have 0 people on the books at the beginning of the month, and by the end of it, we're at 230, 400 people. So December was one of those months where there was very few group sales on the books, and by the end of the month, we had 270 people. Forward projections with sales and reservations are up to 236 for this month. I did this report last week, and so I'm sure that number is even a little bit higher today, just because of booking trends in the past. Packages, again, Katisha Beanland created this maybe a year and a half ago. It was a great idea, and they continue to do well. December, we were up 28 month over month packages. We met with Galaxy this morning, our point of sales. I think if we work on our web store, which we don't have a lot of control of because it's through the point of sales system, we have control of the website, then you get kicked to the point of sales, and it can be cumbersome. So we're going to work with them, and I think that we can increase a lot of these things, sales even more, as that gets better. Captain's Tours, we sold 577. So that when I say a tour, that's tickets sold. That's why I make sure I put it that way. So 64 less in November. We do a holiday version for the last 2.5 weeks of the year, and that's what we do our sales, because the beginning of the month is very low, and then people reserve their spots for the holiday tour. It's always for the second year in a row we've done it, and it's sold about a 95%, where the rest of the month sells, in the 30s or 40s because it's the off season. And Friends of the Fleet Passes, we put a marketing campaign together to promote it for the holidays, and doubled, nearly tripled our normal monthly sales trends for Friends of the Fleet Passes. So we were, what normally would be a down month for us, we sold 25 more than usual, made $4,395, and I think our marketing campaign was much less than that, maybe a quarter of that. So for a lifetime, since we launched this in early February of last year, we've sold 469, and we continue to roll through. So that's a revenue stream we didn't have before, especially the way that it was set up. It's a different topic, but it was $31,401. And continue with Roy's vision, we see a seamless transition as far as the customer into a membership program as we get that in place. And so, we'll offer more programs. We'll need a team to reach out to them and make sure that they're, engaged with our museum. But this is the foundation to that eventually, what will change over. It's one of my favorite Operation Overnight photos in the helicopter in the Vietnam experience, the CH-46. But for 2022, for the first 6 months of this fiscal year, our goals that we set were $5.5 million worth of revenue for admissions, 240,000 visitors. We're at 3.28 million and 148,000. So we're trending really well. We all know that most of historically Patriots Point Spring is where we make our money and reach a lot of those goals. So we're ahead of where we normally would be for this time of year. The groups, we set 150,000 and 10,000 visitors as for our goal. It was one of those goals where we put something down but didn't know where it was going to go, and every month the projection for the year grows. And so we were projecting back in October or November 3,000 visitors for the year, and now we're at 6,000. And I apologize for not putting the revenue. I asked Kevin for it, and I have it. I just didn't put it in here. Friends of the Fleet was, our goal was 25,425 passes for the fiscal year. We sold 254 for 13,410. And as the visitor service department is created, and a lot more attention, rightly deserving, goes to the cashiers and the ticketing and visitor experience, I think that the sky's the limit for this. If there's proper training on how to sell it and we work on it, I think that we could do a lot better and beat this goal in the next year. Do very well. And then Captain's Tours, we wanted to do $57,000 for the Captain's Tours for 12,816 tours. We've done 5,000 tours going into the spring. This month, actually in February, we're going to reduce the tours to just Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then in March 1st, they go to 4 times a day, 7 days a week. So it's going to look like we're kind of lagging here, and then as soon as we hit to the springtime, it'll jump up. But we've already made $22,558 for that program, which, reminder, that flows in as a support for the Yorktown Foundation and for efforts that we do towards the exhibits and anything we want to do on that front. December marketing, there was a 310% return on ad spend across all of the search campaigns. I told you that that number is really good, but we had the 1,200, 1,300, 1,400% because we were focusing much more on online marketing and digital marketing over the past few months. But now we're starting to get year over year, and so you'll see some of the comparison and some of the things we're doing start leveling out, but still very positive numbers. In December, we did a Fragile Collections campaign. We did the PNC military newsletter. We did regular PNC e-blast. We did 2 quarter-page print ads in the Post and Courier, and we did page social. For the Friends of the Fleet, we did a paid social and search campaign, and it resulted in, just like I told you, the 62% sales increase for the Friends of the Fleet program. Past presentations, I compare month over month or year over year for that month. In December of 2020, we were transitioning Pixels, and where there was a problem we had with the point of sale system talking to the ad agency, and there was about a 2-week period that we weren't able to track. So that 2-week period of the whole year is the only time I can't do it. But even if we did, the numbers would be very skewed, because if you remember the Charleston County, I think it was the ATAX grant, we repurposed from the dog tags to marketing efforts, and we saw a huge jump in ticket sales. It was a very successful campaign. But as you look over it year over year, the increase that campaign did was almost exactly tied to the change in ad data. So like ticket sales or website visits was exactly pretty much the percentage of increase we did for marketing that month. which is interesting to note. And e-commerce, this is something that changed. 35 to 44 popped up to the #1 demographic for online last month, and it remained there in November, remained there in December. And Charlotte is the top driver of online sales. For the spring, what we plan to do is we were checking our computers every single day for an email from the airport saying that we could get these baggage claims. We've been working on it for a long time, especially with the new airline Breeze and some direct markets that we're getting, and the natural change from the airport authority to have more direct flights for Charleston marketing. We thought it's appropriate to be on that airport baggage claim carousel for video ads. We're doing those digital billboards, so Wayne, up near Mills Inlet, you might see that vinyl come down if it hadn't already because of that change. And we're going into the Atlanta Parent Magazine to try to reach Operation Overnight potential leads there. That's a huge market for us, Atlanta, Charlotte, Jacksonville. And then also to help with group sales, there's so many things that were there that just aren't there anymore. LinkedIn to target tour operators has been a strategy we're trying to do in the SC Motor Coach. I do want to mention, if you see so much more digital than ever before, it's pretty obvious that we're doing it. It's really, the reporting is there, it's really helpful, and if you think of it this way, with Facebook and Google ads, $1 of every ad dollar spent online, 80 to 90 cents of it goes to Google and Facebook. So you'll see so much more of that than anything else because they hold so much of the market.
Hey, let me ask you a quick question. Ages 35 to 44. Do we have any more data on that other than, a question being, is it because they're 35 to 44, or is it because they're parents of kids with 10 to 15-year-old kids, or 5 to 15-year-old kids? Because that could tell us a little something different.
I think so too. I'll look into that. I can get a lot more data that I don't have at my fingertips right now, but I can look into it and see too if it's a long-term trend. If we go next month and it changes again, that'd be interesting too. But I'll keep my eye on that, and I'll keep reporting back on the e-commerce demographic changes back and forth. I'm kind of curious if it'll change as we go into spring. But that too, if we go into spring break and those kids are that age, we might see that jump up even, like separate even more.
Yeah, I'm just curious, I think we need to understand what's driving that age demographic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because if it's the age of their kids, then there are other people that have kids that age too, but they may be a little older,
right,
or younger or whatever, right? So it could broaden our reach.
And another slide I have, the cell phones are significant too. So we'll see that. But I'll keep an eye on that, Wayne. That's a good thing, especially make sure the ad agency is aware of that too.
You mentioned cell phones. Do we do any geofencing or anything like that?
Okay. Very much so. We target, with some of the campaigns we do, we'll target. We used to spend a lot of money with the CVB and trying to get people to go to the CVB's website to click on our website. And over the pandemic, we learned that if we reutilize that data and get them when they're traveling within a certain reach, the CVB can bring them to Charleston, and then we'll grab them from there. So we do a lot of that. Year-over-year online revenue growth, you'll see in December the comparisons there are for that 2-week period are missing. They'll start back up in January, but some of this is organic too because people are going online to check the pandemic measures, safety measures you're doing, and then that leverage with additional ad spend to be able to convert them is why you're seeing some of these things. That's one of the banners at the bottom that we did for for the Fragile exhibits. But yeah, the online revenue growth continues to increase, and this morning when we were talking about the web store again, the cashiers are noticing that people are going to our web store and having a problem and then coming to buy tickets in person. So a lot of these return on investments or ROI numbers that I'm giving for Facebook or Google campaign are likely much higher. We're just not getting the total transaction out of it because they're stopping because they're confused or they want to call somebody and then end up coming in here to get it. Audience insight, again, I want to make sure y'all understand that this is just e-commerce data here on this point. But South Carolina as a state is our highest driver. Charlotte is our highest city. So the states to the left and then broken down among those to the right with the city. Mobile 65%, desktop 34%, and I guess there are a couple people out there buying tickets with their tablet. And the breakdown, online, it's almost 50-50. Data that we've done, with like in person with University of South Carolina for many years. It used to be very, very heavily skewed, and online you're seeing a difference. So I'd be curious. I'm going to request money to do another one of those big surveys for the study next year to see what our new customer is going forward post-pandemic. But I'd be really curious to see what that ends up being. Heat maps. This is for the first 6 months. So July 1st through the month of December. You can see this is a good graph to show you. And I'll go back to monthly changes so you can see the change. But this is where we're at for the first 6 months. You can see that drive market is just super strong. And you know, the CVB keeps saying that it's now 8 hours out rather than what it was before, and then those direct flight markets. So with the addition of the Breeze, I think they have 8 new flights or 8 new markets that they're serving for Charleston. We could see this change, and we'll see we changed the zip codes from every 5 of the ticket booth to every single zip code. So that could greatly enhance this map too. We might see other things pop up. We get the zip codes from every single online purchase. Next part is the Operation Overnight, and you know, I can't say enough about the team putting this together. I remember meeting with Rory and Sarah at the beginning and being, we need to do this in March, or we need to launch later, and I didn't think with staffing that we'd be able to do everything, but we put our minds together and was able to do a lot. Just a snapshot of some of the stuff that we've done to do it. We've got 4 videos, we did a new webpage, we created a new Operation Overnight logo and brand, promotional items, and if you will, I want to show you one of these videos. Let's see, that John did that was really good, and Sarah describes the program. I think that there's somebody other end of this laughing at me.
You are standing in the Yorktown's anchor room, which is called the forecastle. It's the forwardmost part of the ship, or as you want to be more like a Navy sailor, you can call it the forecastle. So we're in here today because this is one of the areas that we're using on our Live Like a Sailor program. And as we mentioned in our previous video, we're going to be bringing back our overnight program, and this is going to be one of the focal points for that. In the evenings, like normal, we'll show a movie in the ship's theater on Friday evenings. Then Saturday is going to be the bulk of our program, and that's where we'll explore the museum more in depth. And we'll go to a few different spaces. We'll take a tour around, one being the USS Laffey. We will incorporate the Medal of Honor Museum here on board. Our squadron leaders, which are going to be our instructors for our Live Like a Sailor program, are really good at adapting the program, the materials to the audience that they've got. We'll come up in here into the forecastle of the Yorktown, and then we'll have a space dedicated to look at some ship artifacts. So when sailors were in service, what kinds of things they would interact with. So that'll be the main portion of the day. And then our Part 2 program of Live Like a Sailor, we'll do more in-depth focus on the Yorktown, her service, why she's important to the Navy when she was serving in the military, but then also why she's important to us today. This overnight experience has impacted people for 40 years, from little kids all the way up to grandparents. And I know that if you do come and spend the night on the ship, it's an experience that you will remember for years and years to come. We really want guests to have more interaction with what the museum offers. So what's going to happen is I'm going to dismiss our Squadron 1. Y'all are going to head to the USS Laffey.
Squadron 1, follow me.
My staff is going to be excited to kind of take them on more tours, show them the pilot ready room or the catapult room. How do these pieces all fit together? You're living on a ship, so you know you had to get your teeth worked on when you were on board. If you had a toothache, where are you going to go for that? You're going to go to the dentist space. So we will really want to paint a more complete picture of a life on a ship. So we're really going to start using a lot of Navy terminology. So I wanted to refer to their bunk rooms as the berthing quarters, learning your right from left and calling it starboard and port. We'll try to get them trained in that military time. the USS Yorktown in her years of service was an excellent example of American patriotism. She carries the stories of folks that, they gave their lives on the ship serving their country, and they come from all different walks of life. I want anyone that comes here to say, as they're leaving, I learned about patriotism. I learned about honor. I learned about how to be brave. And so we really want to highlight stories of Medal of Honor recipients who exhibited these characteristics that they used not only in service to their country, but they used after when they went and served their communities, and they interacted with their family members, their friends. When groups are here, when kids are here, when parents are here, they're really learning more about the character of a hero and then how you can apply those characteristics in your everyday life. We're not accepting reservations just yet. Keep your eyes on our website, on our social media accounts. We'll start sharing that information as we get closer to it. We are excited to get you back here.
Sorry, I couldn't cut that off before. Horn. We love that horn. It's like gives you goosebumps every time you hear it. So that's one of 4 videos that we did. And there was a strategy in place to start mentioning things in our newsletters, to change the way we answered phone calls as we got closer. And then, our sales team kept email addresses for everybody who wanted to book. And so we put those into a spreadsheet. And then when we launched we promised them to let them know first. So we had a pretty qualified lead list going into the launch. We kept posting these videos. The latest one was how to book, like going onto the website, the drop-down menu, and how to navigate that. But they're not going to stop. We'll continue, and the next part of that will be feedback from visitors and getting testimonials of what it meant to be back on the ship, what they thought, and we'll keep doing it that way. And so far, Sarah had the most up-to-date numbers. Again, this was from last week. 107 group bookings in 10 days for 4,700 overnight guests. I'm told the 1 and 2 night stays were booking nearly even. And the forward revenue projections, once they book their stays from deposits to full payment, are more than $500,000 within 10-day period. Will it stay booking that rate? No. I think that there's obviously a huge jam ready to get on the books. But we purposely reduced the amount of visitors overnight, and we did weekends only, and that creates that more demand. People want to get in and get their weekend, and that's why they're booking into 2023 and things like that. So we got a really good strategy in place for this, and a good seat forward. Sarah is just so energetic in those videos; it makes you want to come just to meet her. Media nights. One of the things we did with Operation Overnight is Macy is great. And had this great idea of let's get journalists from across the state or wherever we can get them. Let's invite them to come down here. So we did this the night before the launch, and so all day leading up to their stay, they were doing hits on the Yorktown. That night they were doing hits. Oh, it's so cool! During the evening broadcast, Bill Sharp here at Channel 5 did his weather hits from the hangar deck and talked about his time serving on, I think it was the George Washington. And this and that, and that's priceless to have 5-minute weathercast where the meteorologist is telling you why you have to do that. And we had some print people too, and that earned media, was what you see on the screen, just television. And then the next morning when they wake up, we launched the program, and people that are watching the news can go on that morning and book it. So that was one of the things we did. We also did an influencer night last week, to where we opened it up for applications for influencers on social media to apply, and then they could spend the night. So they did that last weekend. As fiscal year 22 earned media as a whole, broadcast value was $325,000 worth of coverage. We were featured on local and regional channels. More than 193 stories were placed on those channels. In print, we had 3 major Post and Courier articles, one about Rory, about Pearl Harbor Day, and the Fragile Collections. I'll tell you, we've been trying to get in the military beat. His name is Thomas Neville. We were trying to get coverage from him for a long time, and really could never get it. And then we advertised in his newsletter. Changed a little bit. Associated Press coverage. We also had the Fragile Collections exhibit article be picked up by the AP, and so that was great. Over the holidays, it was everywhere, all across the country. We stopped using Meltwater, our print earned media service, because of the pandemic and the cost to it, but I'm sure that number, if I were to pull it, is just astronomical. Newsletters. We developed several newsletters. We got Patriots Point, the digital newsletter is there now, and we cleaned up over the last few months in Sharp Springs. We were sending it, and then a lot were bouncing back with bad emails, or over the years, so many people's hands within Sharp Springs, the CRM for this. There was all kinds of lists, and some of them were bad. So we cleaned it up with Blue Ion, and now it serves 8,000 people. The open rates are much better than you think. Obviously, people that follow us are passionate, so it's going to be more than a business trying to sell you something. But the open rates are strong. I did check and make sure that the board was on there before I came up here, and everybody was. But it could go into spam folder, and it wouldn't hurt for me to add everybody again, just to another list to make sure that they're on the right ones. We also did, you'll see the difference, we put a lot of money and effort into the one that's public facing, but we also did one in-house for Destination Patriots Point that we can have and manipulate however we want if there's certain things we want to do. But Destination Patriots Point was an effort, Terry meeting with different businesses here that are tenants. We realized we need to talk to each other more often and make sure that we're collaborating, so that Macy made this for us. We sent it to everybody, and they we even had a hard time once we launched it getting them to tell us. So then Macy and I had lunch with several different people that are our tenants, and we've got a good relationship, and we continue to send updates through Destination Patriots Point. We also made one that you don't see here for education. We worked with Keith and Hannah to develop one. They're ready whenever they want to use it. That can be an e-newsletter or an e-blast. That can go to, the idea was that we can send it to legislators if we want to keep them up to date with what we're doing. It can go to teachers. Basically, it's a blank canvas, and it's designed whenever they want to use it. There was a lot of effort to make that too. Video content, first 6 months of this year, we're on track to exceed last year's fiscal year videos views by 35%. Last year we didn't have the staff to produce as many. John was here, but we were doing live streams, a lot of other things. Now that we have a team in place, things are going a lot better. We've done 15 YKTVs, we've done 12 live streams and 4 specialty videos for total views of 207,000 on Facebook. That is a 3-second view number for 207,000. The 1-minute views, if you reduce it to that, we have 21,000 people who've watched those videos for at least a minute or longer. And YouTube, they don't break it down like that, but the average duration for those 360,000 viewers is 3 minutes and 41 seconds, which I had to ask Mason to double check that. I thought that number was high. But on those things we have, a lot of our stories and symposiums you watch for a long time. So if you watch it for 19 minutes and we have a few shorter videos, sometimes that can help lengthen that. One of the most popular videos is one we did with Vietnam pilots. We did a lot with them. We have a guy that was in a helicopter that has a remarkable story of getting hit by like 69 bullets and was able to land, and that is routinely one of our top videos and comments constantly. We did that maybe 5 years ago. Upcoming projects that we have for a team is we need to create the new media kit. I took the old one down. It's just completely outdated. We know that we need to rebuild that, so we're going to work on that in this second half of the fiscal year. The Speakers Bureau, I feel like that's the thing that keeps moving, but it's something that's very important. We need to get out there and plan that properly and speak to the community about what we're doing. We need to improve the YouTube channel and the branding there. We've started to do that, but we're in a good place with Facebook. We're putting a lot more effort into YouTube and Instagram. We want to create visitor itineraries that can live on our website, so that if somebody's here and they're curious about different planes, it'll get them to come back. If they do one itinerary, maybe they'll come back and do a different tract. And it also helps get more stuff online, more information about our exhibits. We always need to work on our communication plans. I've listed one there, but all of them, we need to make sure that we're available in any sort of crisis or situation. We're ready to go, whether it's a storm or something with our exhibits. Patriots Point road signage, I'll get into that in just a minute, but I want you all to be aware that we are working on the changes and development and the construction and making sure that we're on top of that before it happens so that we can avoid confusion. Light pole banners, this is in action now, maybe next month, or I guess we're meeting bi-monthly. So hopefully by March you'll see some light pole banners being replaced. Those are old, need to be replaced, and feature operation overnight and a few new things. And then Jocko's Chacos, I've got a good look for you guys of what the packaging might look like. This is a revenue stream that we're creating to support the Yorktown Foundation, and it will use World War II recipe. And so we've got that, and I've talked at length about this before, but the local Mount Pleasant bakery, veteran owned, we were hoping to launch in February. The packaging that the bakery uses is from Canada, and there was no confidence that it was going to get here in time. And so we decided, instead of, mud on the face, we're just wait, make sure everything's here, the packaging is here, and we'll launch as soon as we're ready. But we've tried the cookies. Y'all have too. They're good. I think that we're going to very, small steps are the name of the game here. Very small, 1-2 week period for sales, and as that grows, we'll grow the program. 6-month accomplishments: Operation Overnight, the newsletters, the website infrastructure. We all talked about not being able to do a lot on our website before. Blue Ion and our team, we work together to have a significant more say and have a back end of the website that we can go make changes to copy and pictures and things. And that's why you're seeing new stuff on the Rotator all of a sudden. Transition away from the staffing services and ticketing. This was the hardest thing I think I've ever done in my career, is to get somebody in the ticket booth to work while doing everything else that we need to do with marketing and sales, and giving them whatever I can with training without a real gift shop or a ticketing manager. But we're now away from the staffing agency and the problem that creates. We have a team, and now the next step will be that visitor services department Roy is working on, and getting them what they need to be successful and better serve this whole agency. We hired Gina, which one of my favorite people in the world. We hired marketing coordinator Matthew George that I've introduced. He's doing, marketing manager. He's doing a wonderful job. He's pumping out new promotional material for us. He's working hand in hand with Crawford to put out a lot of one-sheeters for sales and new envelopes and everything that needs to have our logo on it that we've known for years. We're working on it. And onboarded public information officer Macy. I think everybody knows her, but she started and immediately went on maternity leave. So it's basically like we got her for the first time in July. This is the end of the official presentation. The next thing I want to present is what I talked to you about with the road signage. And so this is an overlay of that parking lot. We all know that in a few months work will start on clearing that. We need to be well ahead of the game, and you can see those numbers are where we propose putting new signs that reflect, a sturdy brand, our new logo, and better wayfinding. The yellow is what we intend to do with windscreens, so that we're not looking at a chain link fence, and we'll have a lot like what you see with the battery. We'll start off simple so that we can cover it with our brand, and then as we kind of get a feel for the project, what will remain. The fencing seems like it'll stay in the same place for a while. Then we'll get there and with through boards, tell stories, tell testimonials. Wild Patriots Point means a lot to people. But this is a very fluid project as far as, even design with the parking lot has changed just a little bit recently. But we'll do this road signs, and then we'll work on, once the plan is in place and it's not going to change again, the signage to get people from that parking lot to our ticketing office properly, and try to ease any sort of concern or problems that they'll have getting there. This is really our plan. The timeline for this, so that you guys are aware, is December we started working on. We brought the agency down so they can see everything, see what we want to do, help us try to figure out how we're going to tell stories and stay on top of this. In January, I'm showing you guys where we think the street signs should go and the purposes of those signs. If there's no hesitancy, we'll begin working on estimates for the design of these street signs. I want them to look a little bit similar to Mount Pleasant. They have those really nice signs coming in before Harry Hallman, make right on Patriot Point. For that area, I don't want to create a choppiness and have things very different all the way around that. So we're getting with Town Mount Pleasant to figure out who did their signs and get their feel for it. So it's a very thorough project we're doing there. And then after we have the images and the plan, next fiscal year we'll pay for the production of those and then putting them in the ground. It'll be on a separate budget. And we're hoping maybe in September to install the signs. Again, that timeline is changing. I'm sure Terry might say something in a minute that changes it again. But we're on top of it. I just want to make sure that you guys are aware that we're talking and planning it. And then finally, group sales. Everybody wants to know what's the trend. We started our group sales manager, Kevin Sutton, who was out with illness today. You see a trend there. But he gave me his report from the last two conferences. He went to Cleveland, Ohio in November, and then in early part of this month, Grapevine, Texas. And what he's saying is there's a focus on domestic travel, less international, which is good. Groups are planning for the fall of 2022 and 2023, in the spring of 2023. Tour operators are wanting booking and headcount flexibility because they want to be able to adjust on the fly, and I think that goes without saying why. And honoring rates for COVID cancellations. They want to make sure that if they have a booking, if they need to, they can get out and get their money back. And then they want new details or details on new offerings. So for our case, it would be Operation Overnight, the education stuff that we're doing to offer schools that are outside of our normal EIA range, complementary education program. So those are kind of things that we will make sure that they know. And as trends change, I'll make sure I keep reporting on those. But so far, we're doing better than we thought this fiscal year, and we'll see what happens next year.
Very good. Any questions of Chris? Good stuff.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
All right. Gary?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good to see you all after the holidays. Everybody kind of made it through. Just some general notes to start with. One was we made a specific effort to get Christmas cards out, holiday cards out to all of our tenants and to a lot of the parties that we interact with here, whether they were vendors that are beneficial or Allison had a lot of the donors for the foundation to send them to. But nice card that forced us to write handwritten note inside. But a great picture. Matt put that together. We also, for the local tenants that had people in one spot together, put together or bought some baskets with local flavors in it, and had a basket for them to share, just some holiday goodies. So took Matt with me, and we went kind of door to door dropping these off. So just further cementing relationships and good cheer, but was received very well and had a lot of follow-up calls and emails just thanking us for thinking of them. So all that was going on. We in looking at the opening of the fragile exhibits display, talking with some of the foundation board members, realized that there were probably some things they didn't know about upcoming development, longer term development, new general ideas, but really not some of the more specific things. So worked with Chris to put together kind of a start to now and a little forward looking presentation that went back to the days of acquiring land for Patriots Point, the 3 vessels that we have here now, the ground leases that have been done, and how they go about generating revenues to support the museum, and kind of walk through oldest tenant to current, and then look through the proposed phases of how the next levels of development will go. And I think it was well received. It was not an end all be all and everything kind of subject to change, but these are the plans. This is how we got to where we are now, and this is what's coming, including what comes next in the next 3 to 4 months. So it's something that we're going to utilize with staff and volunteers on board the ship and around Patriots Point as well, so that our folks know kind of from the inside rather than hearing from the outside where we're going, what's happening. We'll be doing the same thing. We've had a couple of rounds of meetings with tenants regarding impacts that we will see when development starts, and we'll continue to do that. We'll have some meetings in the next 2 weeks just to talk more about timelines and those type things, and how we're going about handling signage and traffic and wayfinding, those type things. So those are going well. All the leases are tracking well. We've recently had a couple of CPI increases, and those have gone into place. The settlement agreement and the new impacts with the AFG leases, or the Charleston Harbor Resort leases, are in place. We did, prior to calendar year end, receive the check for rents and assignment fee and some reimbursement fees. Got those all collected and deposited. And we received the higher rates and the percentage rents on the items that were not previously captured. We've gotten those back to July, and January 1st started off with a newer fixed minimum base monthly rent. So everything's tracking with that, and we are moving forward into what we're projecting as about a $2.6 million lease revenue year, 21-22. the meetings Chris talked about, it's been kind of neat and fun to have some more collaborations between operations and property management and marketing and property management. All these things are kind of going hand in hand, as they should, with some of the things that are happening with moving some of our landside offices to the ship, and then preparing for development work, and then creating the wayfinding. And so we've been interacting a good bit on those things to make it come through, and get an advanced start on it. Kind of updates and highlights on leasing and development. We did get back end of last week. We did get back the temporary license agreement renewal for Charleston Battery, and the extension of the agreement with the College of Charleston consenting to the Charleston Battery's use. So we pushed that out for another year while we have time to work with the College of Charleston on plans for an amended restated lease. Charleston Battery will get busy once we've gotten everything back around, but get busy working on building the little field office on site on parcel 2, and move forward with that. We had kind of some follow-up conversations with Robert Gutman of Fly-In Helicopters, and we were working on, asked Bill to help with a license agreement for Fly-In that will take them through probably September 30th. We're continuing to provide the Fly-In helicopter tours from where they are, and that could be extended some depending on when that existing parking lot has to be shut down for work going through. But we'll have that moving forward. Patriots Annex development, everything is continuing to move forward to try to get everything lined up and approved. We will see a development plan. Not going to be this week. They're just getting things in track and pulled together to submit, but we'll chase the board with that, whether it's a special called meeting or something. But things are on track to get the development plan together and submitted for approval, and then that would be followed by
Sure.
yes.
What are they shooting for to do whatever they need to do with Mount Pleasant? Like I said.
I think that with the town of Mount Pleasant, it's kind of moving on track, and town of Mount Pleasant would wait on the approval of their 4S permit for stormwater, and that really is the linchpin for the town of Mount Pleasant giving final approval to do it. So they've got all of their design plan put together. They have designed the stormwater plan for that particular parcel as a one-off deal. I've been part of 2 conference calls with the town and Bennett Hospitality, and the town has been very good in working to get this done. The land disturbance permit is the thing that takes the longest. It's underway, and it's kind of a 4-month approval process. So all of that.
I guess my point is that we're not under fire on approving this development plan currently.
Right.
We've got a little time.
That's right.
Okay.
All right, but that moves forward, and then beyond the approval and development plan, then comes the submittals for all the details that go into that. We are continuing to organize and work on vacating the mobile office buildings landside with some of the moves already happening. I think HR and accounting are beginning to make their moves to the offices on board the ship, and that's all a product of when Mike can get things ready with everything he's doing. But it's that is starting to move. My guess is that most of the moves would occur, and we'd probably be out of those office trailers in 60 days outside, maybe the next 30 to 60 days or so. I think the marketing is going to take the longest probably to get set up. So in the first quarter.
I hear you just have to move a copy machine and then people move.
Yeah. But those spaces are being set up, and it's kind of a domino effect. Move one piece to get this set up, so that'll continue. But I would think in the first quarter we'll have the landside offices moved over this way, and then be able to start looking at moving those away and moving the storage buildings away as well. Most of those type things we've got going. the facility, temporary facility, that will need to have landside that will replace the functions that are currently in the pavilion, and then some. Still working on that. We lost a little time over the holidays and hoping to be able to get some concepts to look at this board meeting, but those will be forthcoming. Jeff Lewis has been connected with Todd Hastings. Jeff Lewis is the architect that we're contracted with to give us some consulting time, and Todd Hastings is just a construction and modular guy. So we're working on accommodating the needs that we have from the store to the ticket offices, and getting those flows together, public restrooms and all those. So we'll have by the end of this month, talked with Jeff yesterday, by the end of this month he'll have some concepts, and they might be kind of bubble diagram concepts for layouts, what they believe can be done. I've gotten them all of the utility locations and elevations for this area, so we've got that to be able to look at what has to be done on site as well. So those will be forthcoming. What we've asked for is some conceptual design and planning, and some budgeting guidance. This will be similar to what Chris talked about with the signage program. We'll have some design work that'll happen on this front end, and then the bigger cost will be in the next fiscal year. So we'll get that guidance, and then be looking at what our funding options are, kind of rolling through that year. A couple of other items that'll go with that. The chain link fence that currently separates our staff parking lot from the area of the Vietnam Experience where the Cobra helicopter used to be will be moved so that it'll run along the Quonset hut and then come down to the path that goes into that experience, and that kind of opens up and frees up that whole parking area. We continue to look at some of the artifacts and the monuments that are on the annex property, and we are finding interest and looking at both homes on the Patriots campus to be utilized. Some of those we'll likely find homes in kind of pedestrian intersections with the annex development, so that there's kind of that theme that goes throughout, not just right at the pier head, but it'll be something that'll be throughout that development plan. A couple of other things that are just kind of out there as open items. We continue to coordinate and have a conversation with the town of Mount Pleasant regarding the improvements to the intersection of Patriots Point Road and Coleman Boulevard. It will be an improved scenario, like most, once they're done. A lot of this work will be done at night. The utility work has been done to work around it, but what we will see is 2 lanes coming into Patriots from Coleman, as opposed to 1, then expanding to 2. We'll see 2 turn lanes to turn right off of Patriots Point Road to Coleman, and we'll have 2 lanes coming in. All 4 quadrants of the intersection get reworked, but the hardscape work that'll be largely nighttime work will start late March, early April, and so we'll continue to monitor that.
How long do they project that?
They have a timeline on their capital projects page on the website, and I can't remember whether that is. I don't remember whether it's a 6 or 8 month process, but they've got it spelled out, conditioned, and we'll continue to track that. And that kind of gets you up to speed.
Thank you. That's a very good report. Any questions for Terry? In-depth reports. We don't have questions. That's pretty good. It's a good indicator going forward, guys.
Thank you.
That's all we have. Is there any public comment? Hearing none. If there's no other business come before the board, we'll stand adjourned.
Great.